Hi, Gerhard Bloom, once again, looking at the tyranny and the delusions of the social justice movement. So let's look at this issue of non-binary. This is yet another example of militant leftists attempting to coerce you into accepting utter nonsense. We are a sexually dimorphic species, as all other sexually reducing species. By dimorphic, I mean there's two types. There's the male and then there's the female. And the women, they have the babies. No, men don't get pregnant. If you just gave birth to a child, that is irrefutable evidence that you're actually a woman. You know, fancy labels and crying and whining to the contrary. No, you gave birth, you're a woman. And you don't get to decide either. Basic biology decides for you. When I adopted my little French bulldog, I didn't say, what gender does he define himself as? No, I saw the little pirate had a package. It's a boy. Congratulations, it's a boy. In the words of Douglas Murray, these non-binary people are really saying, look at me, look at me. How interesting am I? I'm non-binary. No, you're not. You're stupid. Basic biology dictates. In a unrelated discussion, I was in conversation with a friend, and he had some deep confusions up in the area of social theory. There's a notion in the science, I believe it was E.O. Wilson in his discussion on consilience. At the very basic level of science, you have physics, the laws of physics. Then you have chemistry. And in the human sciences, or the life sciences, you have biology. Then you have, psychology, sociology, what have you. Now, if you have a theory at one of these higher levels that violates, say, the laws of physics, it's nonsense, right? You have a theory, like queer theory, and its notions of non-binary. You just drop down to the basic biology level. And basic biology tells you, no, you can't be non-binary. That's a political statement. It's activism, not science, nonsense. In the House of Representatives, U.S. House of Representatives, they passed a resolution prohibiting gendered language. That's right, no more talk about moms, dads, brothers, sisters. What do they do on Mother's Day and Father's Day? I'm surprised that, they still have Mother's Day cards and Father's Day cards. And does that language strike you as offensive? Mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers? No. Well, it offends non-binary individuals. The fact is, these lost souls are like unicorns. They're imaginary creatures. You can't be non-binary. It's just not an option on the table. You are either male or you're female. Your whining to the contrary doesn't change the facts here. But the medical community is now aiding and abetting this delusion. Yes, they are transitioning people, a growing number of young people, into a state of apparent androgyny. Right. They're not male nor female, so breasts are cut off, getting testosterone. And when I talk about the breast cut off, yes, vast majority non-binary, they are very confused, troubled young women, and they're troubled, they're confused, and somebody comes along with some stupid idea and promises them all their problems will suddenly magically disappear if they get rid of their breasts and start calling themselves non-binary. No, these problems will continue to fester. And in addition to these underlying problems, now they have these disfigured bodies, never breastfeed, very possibly lose fertility, their bodies permanently change, and the medical community, follow the money. Follow the money. These hospitals are raking in a fortune, as are these diversity, equity, and inclusion Nazis that are everywhere in the corporate world and in schools and university campuses. It's a fraud, and it's worse than a fraud. Usually fraud just steals you of your money. These are people stealing people's souls, ruining their lives. Absolutely disastrous. And the medical community, yes, violating its basic duty. Its first principle is to do no harm. This is poisonous. Irreversible interventions, and there are growing numbers of detransitioners and what happens when they speak against the damage that's been done to their lives, or leftists attack them mercilessly like a pack of wild dogs. Anyways, I'm kind of losing my place here and losing my patience with this nonsense. This ideology is poisonous. No, not non-binary. You're male or you're female. And, you know, in this society, you can, for the most part, pretend to be a member of the opposite sex, and people will politely play along. You know, just stay out of women's sports if you're a man, and if you still have a package, stay out of the women's locker room. I'm at a gym and a guy walks in a dress and high heels. I see he's got a package. He's in the right changing room. He's backstage, right? Backstage, he can take off his costume, have a shower, and then get dressed back up and walk out, and most people will pretend he's a woman for the sake of being polite. But no. Stay out of the women's locker room. And if you're a woman and you have a little box, stay out of the men's room. It is not safe for you. Vast majority of men are not rapists, but rapists are men. You have no place in a men's locker room. And it's a sad fact. Yes, it is a sad fact, but it is a fact. And have you heard of trans men competing against men? No. Why? Because they simply can't compete. They're not stupid. You know, you want to transition, you transition. But in life, choices have consequences. Nobody is forcing, a trans man into becoming trans. That's a choice you make. You made that choice. These are the consequences. And the world should not have to suffer by virtue of your choices. I hope you will check out my book. I promise you, it's important. Not important because I wrote it. It's important because the issues are extremely serious. And I bring the data. Yes, the data. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Bye-bye.